nasisira sa bawat usap na ating dala. Likas na yaman ay alaga, taas baba, kanan kaliwa. Saan ka man mapunta, kalikasan ang ating dala. Tutok PH, Tutok PH, tayo na, ikaw ang boses ko. Tutok PH, Tutok PH, tayo na, ikaw ang boses ko. Ikaw, ikaw ang boses ko. Ikaw ang boses ko. Ikaw ang boses ko.
Good day, everyone! Welcome to Eco Talk PH, where we talk about environmental issues that truly matter today. Now, before we begin, let me ask you a question. Do humans have responsibility to protect nature, or are we free to use it however we want? So in this video, we will discuss environmental ethics, a topic that will help us understand our moral responsibilities toward nature. So what exactly is environmental ethics? Environmental ethics is a branch of philosophy that studies the moral relationship between humans and the environment. It asks important questions like, should we protect forests, animals, and ecosystems only because they are useful or because they have value on their own? It is important because traditionally, many people believe that nature exists only because they serve human needs. However, environmental ethics challenge the idea and encourages us to think more deeply. For example, if a tree is cut down, we usually think for economic benefits. But environmental ethics asks, what about the animals that lose their homes? What about the future generations that may never see that forest? Environmental ethics goes beyond science and economics. Science explains facts, like how pollution affects the air. Economics tells us cost, like how much damage is caused. But ethics asks a deeper question. Is it right? Is it fair? It challenges the belief that humans are superior and separate from nature. Instead, it promotes the idea that humans are part of a larger ecosystem. This means that our actions, like overconsumption or pollution, don't just affect the environment, but also comes back to affect us.
This topic is very important today because of global environmental crisis. We are facing issues like climate change, pollution, deforestation, species extinction, and most importantly, resource depletion. But here's the deeper point. These are not just environmental problems. They are ethical problems. Why? Because they involve responsibility. Who are accountable for the damage? Justice. Who suffers the most? Future impact. What kind of world we are living behind?
Now let's look at the background. Environmental ethics emerged during the 20th century as a response to the growing environmental problems such as industrial pollution, rapid deforestation, and biodiversity loss. As these issues worsened, people realized that science alone cannot solve them, but we also need ethical thinking to guide human behavior and decision-making. That is why environmental ethics became an important field, which helped us to decide how we should act, not just what we can do. Environmental ethics introduces different ways in valuing nature. First is intrinsic value. This means that nature has value in itself, even if humans don't benefit from it. Like for example, an endangered species is worth protecting simply because it exists. Second is instrumental value. This is when nature is valuable because it provides benefits like food, water, and materials, like forest that provides timber and oxygen. Third is aesthetic value. This refers to the beauty of nature, like the mountains, oceans, and forests, that improves mental health and human happiness. Now, these are the major environmental problems. First is pollution. It includes air, water, and land pollution caused by chemicals, plastics, and industrial waste. Pollution harms ecosystems, causes diseases, and threatens both human and animal life. Second is deforestation. This happens when forests are cleared for agriculture, urban development, or industry. And this destroys habitat, reduces biodiversity, and increases carbon emissions. Third is climate change. This is caused by greenhouse gases from burning fossil fuels that leads to global warming, stronger storms, and rising sea levels. These problems are largely caused by human actions, which is why they are also moral issues. Other major issues include loss of biodiversity, which weakens the ecosystem and reduces the balance of nature. There is also resource depletion, where natural resources, especially non-renewable ones, are used faster than they can be replaced. Additionally, overpopulation increases the demands for food, water, and energy, leading to more pressure on the environment. All these problems are connected to human behavior and lifestyle. And these problems are not just scientific, they are ethical. Our actions today may not only affect our lives, but also the lives of the future generations.
Good day, everyone. So today I will be explaining about the ethical analysis using major frameworks. Have you ever wondered, is it always right to use nature just because it benefits us? Or do plants, animals, and ecosystems also deserve moral consideration? That's where ethical analysis comes in. Ethics is simply the study of what is right and wrong. Environmental ethics, we ask, how should humans treat nature? Who or what really matters? Different ethical frameworks help us answer these questions, but they don't always agree. So now, let's begin with the first framework. So for our first framework, we have anthropocentrism. Anthropocentrism places humans at the center of moral concern, viewing nature mainly for its usefulness to people. It teaches us that we protect the environment because it supports human survival and well-being. So one of its strengths it is practical and easy to apply since human needs are clear and measurable. It encourages development and innovation that improve human life. So its weakness as well is it can justify environmental destruction if it benefits human. It ignores the intrinsic value of non-human life. So for our second framework, we have sentientism. Sentientism extends moral consideration to all beings that can feel pain and pleasure, especially animals. It emphasizes compassion by recognizing the suffering should be minimized for all sentient beings. So one of its strengths is that it promotes kindness and reduces cruelty toward animals. It raises awareness about ethical treatment in industries like farming and research. Another weakness is that it excludes non-sentient life like plants and ecosystems. It can be difficult to apply consistently in real-life situation. So for our third framework, we have biocentrism. Biocentrism values all living things equally, regardless of their usefulness to humans. It teaches us as well that life itself has intrinsic value and deserves respect and protection. So one of its strengths is that it promotes deep respect for all forms of life. It encourages conservation and biodiversity protection. Another weakness of that framework as well is that it may be unrealistic when human needs conflict with their other living beings. It can be difficult to prioritize decisions when all life is considered equal. For our fourth framework, we have ecocentrism. Ecocentrism focuses on well-being of entire ecosystems rather than the individual organisms. It emphasizes the importance of maintaining ecological balance and interconnectedness. So one of its strengths is that it supports long-term environmental stability. It considers both living and non-living components of nature. Its weakness as well is that it may overlook individual suffering for the sake of the whole system. It can be complex to apply in policy and decision making. In our fifth framework, we have the stewardship ethics. So stewardship ethics teaches us that humans have responsibility to take care for and manage the earth wisely. It views humans as guardians rather than exploiters of nature. So one of its strengths is that it encourages responsibility and ethical care for the environment. It is supported by the many cultural and religious beliefs. So one of its weakness as well is that it still places human above nature. It depends heavily on human willingness to act responsibly. So for our sixth framework, we have the sustainability ethics. This framework focuses on meeting present needs without compromising future generations. It promotes responsible use of resources to ensure long-term survival. So one of its strengths is that it balances environmental, social, and economic concerns. It supports long-term planning and global responsibility. Another weakness as well is that it can be vague and difficult to measure. It may conflict with short-term economic goals. Now, let's talk about the non-human interest issues. So this perspective argues that non-human beings have rights and moral standing. It emphasizes that animals and other beings deserve protection beyond human interest. So this includes animal rights, which means animals should not be treated as property. Second is moral standing, who deserves ethical consideration. And the third one, we have the legal rights of nature. Nature can have rights. So its strength is that it promotes justice and fairness for non-human beings. It strengthens laws and policies in animal protection. Meanwhile, its weakness is that it can conflict with human needs and economic activities. It may be difficult to define the extent of these rights. Now, let's move on to the overall comparison of the different perspectives. So the 9 perspectives differ mainly in who or what is given moral importance, ranging from humans, or the framework anthropocentrism, to all living and non-living systems, which is the framework ecocentrism. So some focus on individual beings like sentientism and biocentrism, while others emphasize systems and relationships such as ecocentrism and sustainability ethics. Perspectives like stewardship and sustainability ethics highlight human responsibility, while environmental justice and ecofeminism focus on fairness and social issues. So each framework offers valuable insights, but also has limitations depending on the situation. Overall, understanding these perspectives helps us develop a more balanced and ethical approach to protecting the environment. Despite of their differences, they also have the areas of agreement they share as one common thing on those different frameworks. So, the common thing that they have is that nature must be protected. Human actions have consequences, and we, as humans, have ethical responsibility. But they also disagree on these following questions. So, who matters most? Does nature have a value on its own? And should humans always come first? For example, a scenario with which cutting down a forest. In the anthropocentrism view, it asks, is it useful for humans? Meanwhile, on the sentientism, what about the animals? In biocentrism as well, is that it states that all life matters. While on the other hand, ecocentrism questioned what about the ecosystem? And in sustainability, it asked what about the future? And those questions shows us something important, which is the way we see environmental issues depend on our ethical perspective. So the big question is, which framework do you agree with and why? Because in the end, our ethical choices shape the future of our planet.
Now, after examining the different ethical frameworks, such as anthropocentrism, scientism, biocentrism, ecocentrism, and among others, we realize something important. Environmental protection should not be seen as just a scientific or economic use. Instead, it is a moral responsibility shared by all human beings. This means protecting the environment is not just about solving problems, it is about doing what is right. So our group believes that the best approach is a combination of different ethical perspectives. This includes ecocentrism, stewardship ethics, sustainability ethics, environmental justice, and ecofeminism. So why combine them? It is because each one focuses on an important aspect: nature's value, human responsibility, future generations, fairness, and social issues. Together, they give a complete understanding of environmental responsibility. We also believe that humans must stop seeing nature as something to dominate. Instead, we must see it as a connected system where humans, plants, animals, and future generations all depend on each other. Environmental destruction does not only harm nature, it also affects human health, economy, social equality, and future survival. Ecocentrism focuses on protecting the entire ecosystem. This means that forests, rivers, oceans, and biodiversity are not just resources. They are life support systems. So if we destroy ecosystems for profit, we are damaging the systems that support life. That is why ecological balance must always be protected. Stewardship ethics teaches that humans are caretakers of the earth, not owners. This means we have moral responsibility to take care of nature. We should not abuse resources like fuel, water, or land. Instead, we must use them wisely. Being a good steward means protecting the earth for both present and future generations. Now in here, it focuses on future generations. The key idea is that we should meet our needs today without destroying the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. For example, if we overuse fossil fuels now, future generations may face energy shortage. If we destroy forests now, future generations may face or may suffer from climate problems. Sustainability means thinking long term, not just short term benefits. Environmental justice is about fairness. It recognizes that poor communities, indigenous people, and marginalized groups often suffer the most from environmental problems. For example, communities near factories are more exposed to pollution. So ethical solutions must protect both the environment and the vulnerable people. Ecofeminism connects environmental issues with social inequality. It explains that systems that exploit nature are often the same systems that oppress women, poor communities, and marginalized groups. So protecting the environment also means fighting inequality, reducing exploitation, and promoting justice. So this means that environmental problems are also social problems. Now this reminds us that non-human beings also matter. Animals, plants, rivers, and ecosystems should not be treated as property because they have moral value. For example, animals deserve protection from cruelty. Ecosystems should be preserved, not destroyed. Some countries even recognize the legal rights of nature. This means that humans are not the only ones that matter in ethical decisions. So now, based on our discussion, our group recommends the following. First is to promote sustainable development. Economic progress should not destroy the environment. We must support renewable energy, waste reduction, and conservation. Second is to strengthen environmental education. People must understand their responsibilities toward nature, and education helps create long-term awareness. Third is to enforce stronger environmental laws. Government must strictly implement laws against pollution and environmental destruction. Now, fourth is protecting vulnerable communities. Environmental policies must prioritize those who are most affected by climate change and pollution. Next is to respect animal rights and nature. Animals and ecosystems should be protected, not exploited. And lastly is to encourage individual responsibility. Every person must take action by reducing waste, conserving energy and water, supporting sustainable products, and protecting wildlife. While these actions may seem small, but they create a big impact when done collectively. Environmental destruction is not only an environmental issue, it is a moral failure. It shows lack of responsibility, justice, and respect for life. That is why our final judgment is clear. Environmental protection is an ethical obligation of every human being. Humans must stop exploiting nature and start acting as responsible stewards. The future of our humanity depends on our choices today. Protecting the environment means protecting life itself. As we conclude, environmental ethics teaches us that our actions have consequences. Everything we need, like the air, water, food, and energy, comes from nature. So we must act responsibly in our daily lives. Once again, this is Eco Talk page. Thank you for listening.